Now, for some context, our redhead protagonist here is Tomo Aizawa, a first-year high school student who's a tomboy. Like, really tomboyish. The magnitude of her masculinity is sometimes even greater than the other guys in this anime, if you think about it. She has a crush on our childhood friend named Junichiro Kubota, or Jun for short. Tomo and Jun has been friends for over a decade, and since then, Jun has always treated her like a boy. Even now he does that, which causes several awkward moments to occur, which unfortunately, Jun isn't aware of because he has this trait that most rom-com protagonists tend to share, which is the fact that he's immensely dense. Regardless of how many hints that are thrown into his way, he either brushes it off or doesn't even acknowledge it. When Tomo started wearing a skirt in school, Jun was confused at the fact that she's wearing one, which reinforces the fact that Jun still thinks that Tomo's a boy, which is definitely not the case here. Even all this, Tomo must find a way to make Jun aware that she's a girl, and then confess her feelings to him, which leads to another problem. Tomo has no idea how to be girly. Obviously, Tomo is a tomboy, which means her personality is pretty much like a guy at this point, whether it be her aggressive/violent nature in problem solving, and her attire, which has a total lack of femininity. These issues cause their chances of them getting together to be nigh impossible. With how they are, they won't be able to progress their relationship any further than being bros. Thankfully, they're in great hands because they're not alone. They got someone that can help support a couple. Let's start with our best girl, Mizuzu Gundo. Unlike our athletic and belligerent protagonist, Mizuzu is pretty much the polar opposite. Calm, cold, level-headed woman who has more brain cells than Tomo and Jun combined, who's also their childhood friend. She is one of the people who must teach Tomo on how to become more feminine or else all hope is lost for her. Not only that, Mizuzu must also guide Tomo and Jun become closer, and not only allow Tomo the chance to confess her feelings to Jun, but for Jun to be aware of Tomo's femininity. She may not be the main protagonist for this show, but honestly, I like her more than the maid couple because she's the one who takes initiative for both Tomo and Jun. If she wasn't around, then both Tomo and Jun would be stuck in brozone purgatory. Tomo would still be more manly than the average person, and Jun would still be dense and unaware how he feels with Tomo. Also, she has an interesting dynamic with Jun whenever they interact with each other. I mean, they don't actually hate each other though. They're just expressing themselves differently compared to most.
あなたが友を半日も避けてるなんて珍しいわね。今回はさすがにリセットに時間がかかるのかしら。やってみなさい。
She may not be the most physically fit person in the anime, however, her menacing aura is enough to scare people off. I mean, if looks can kill, then they better prepare a mass burial. If Jun and Tomo can deal the most physical damage, then Mizuzu can deal the most mental/psychological damage, which technically makes her the scariest person in the anime. However, Mizuzu alone won't be able to handle the chaos that is Tomo and Jun. We might as well add another prominent character in the mix. Meet Carol Austin, a blunt, ditzy, and busty blonde foreigner who joins the cast. Unlike Mizuzu, Carol is...
ああ、そうだ。
お話ししたいことがあるんだけど。
とりあえず、そこから出ろ。
unique. Now come to think of it, I think Carol is more chaotic than pretty much every other character combined in this anime. Kinda reminds me of Shika from Kaguya-sama. So anyways, Carol is a character whose action tends to be extremely unpredictable and unconventional as well. She's pretty much like Shika except that Carol is aware of Tomo's and Jun's dynamics and she tries to support them in her own way. And let's not forget that looks can be deceiving as well, because Carol is smarter than she looks. Her actions tend to be questionable, but she knows what she's doing to do what's right. Simply, she knows how to support Tomo. And not only that, let's not forget that she's the smartest student in the whole school, even if her learning methods are just as weird as her. Although there are many other side characters in this anime, like the guy who has a crush on Mizuzu, or Carol's fiance. They aren't the most prominent characters in this anime because they don't give as much development for a main couple compared to either Mizuzu or Carol. TLDR, Mizuzu and Carol pretty much hard carries this anime. Period. I might have said this before, but without them, the plot would not budge. I mean, generally, the protagonists tend to be the one who drives the plot, and bring the others with them, not the other way around. This, unfortunately, makes Tomo and Jun less interesting when compared to Mizuzu or Carol. I mean, to be fair, I don't mind getting a spin-off of Mizuzu. but unfortunately, I don't think that's gonna happen since the manga already ended. Fortunately for our meat-headed protagonists, the good point for both Tomo and Jun are their bronze. Where it be delinquents and all, they can pretty much single-handedly handle them with ease. Not even the biggest and baddest student in this school can handle them without any prep work. Which leads to several comedic antics that can ensue throughout the series, which gave me a few laughs here and there. However, that doesn't mean that their characters are bland. At least they have actual character development, and they're willing to prove themselves as well. I mean, sure, I like Mizuzu and Karo more, but that doesn't mean that I like Tomo and Jun any less. Tomo at least tries her best to make herself become more feminine by asking Mizuzu for advice since middle school. She's aware of her problems and wants to change that by either softening her tone when talking to dressing up in feminine clothing. Jun, on the other hand, may initially treat Tomo like a boy for most of their time together. However, Jun begins to notice Tomo change her mannerisms as each episode flies by. Later on, he will soon see Tomo for what she wants Jun to see in her, a girl who's in love. The last thing I like to talk about this anime is actually the strongest point, which is the adaptation itself. The story isn't the best out there, but I'm amazed by how well directed its adaptation is to make it flow this well. If you don't know, Tomo-chan is based on a manga where each page is comprised of only 4 panels. Each page of the manga is pretty much a single chapter that revolves around a specific topic, whether it be about changing Tomo's way of talking, or how Jun accidentally followed Tomo to the girl's back room since he still thinks that Tomo is a dude, so he thought that she would go to the boy's back room. This tends to make the story feel more episodic, which may make the story less linear. From what I've seen so far, the adaptation cuts off the majority of the side story as content from the manga, making the story flow much more linearly. We may not be able to see the manga get fully adapted, but this helps the story feel more natural. This also means that the story is more likely to end in a single core. It may not be the perfect adaptation, but Studio Leidos to me did a good job in the adaptation so far. It's not a perfect anime, but I still like it nonetheless.